Let's get a card discussion going. Let me see if I can get a better angle here. Something that I thought would be, well, it sounds simple when you ask the question, but it's a complicated set of answers, and I'm experiencing that now because I ask other people. But the question is, what does African American mean? And it's so funny how such a so-called simple answer gets so many different responses from people. And I try to use their logic to other things and compare it to see get like a linear equation. But a lot of people say it's, people from African descent living in America. And it starts that way and it's like, okay, but then it breaks down to different things. So any people who are from other nationalities besides American, if they come here, they can now be African American. But an African American person can't go other places and be their nationality. I don't know. So it just like what got me thinking is I've been following a lot of this, the FBA and ADOS and a lot of their thinking and it's pretty. A lot of it I agree with. I believe that they're just doing what a lot of other people do. So people shouldn't have a problem with it. If they do, they're being real hypocritical. But they're setting boundaries for their culture. And this question, and it's real funny, especially when it comes to things like resources. Like if you have a scholarships or certain policies, well, they don't really do much for African Americans, but if you have policies for people, and let's just say something for African Americans, traditionally you think that's people who not only born here but their lineage is African. It goes back very far. But others are saying no. Well, a person who family came here, let's say in the 80s, from another country, who themselves had African descent from that country, they can come here now, be African American, and they are now able to have those same resources. So remember I said about linear. So I said, well, if they have a Nigerian scholarship, can I go to Nigeria and probably not and get any resources that way? As a new, I'm probably West. I have like little like Nigerian in me, right? So yeah, I should be able to get that, right? Probably won't happen. So I don't know. It's real weird that when I asked that question, how many tangents somebody went off about. Oh, but the Jamaicans, and they black, and they from Africa, and this. I'm just like, well, Jamaicans are Jamaicans. Their nationality is that. I have never heard somebody call themselves an African Jamaican. And then when I tried to respond that way, I got babble back. But no, you Jamaican. You're Jamaican. That's not Jamaican. I'm Haitian. You know, it's that. It's not nothing else before it. So, for an African American, you've been in America just as long as they've been in those other nations. You're removed from Africa the same amount of time as them, right? These are mostly Caribbean nations, some even in South America, right? All right. But for some reason, you have to carry the African label. I know one person said because, they may not know what countries they came from, and so they would say Africa. Okay, why don't they have African in front of these other nations? I don't know, right? Am I bugging out? No. So I don't know. So that's why, but when I say, okay, foundational black American, okay, makes sense. Sounds correct. Okay. African descendant of chattel slavery. Okay. I see where they get that from. They're being real descriptive, real specific there. And I believe the other term kind of is just it's real broad in terms of and like a lot of opportunity, like a lot of people in history, they looking out to get theirs. And that term, I think people are just they're latching onto it and they're taking what they can from it. And I just feel the other way around with other national, you can't really do that a lot. I think they hold it down with who they are, and they're not as open, or they don't have such vagueness in the term. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. I just figure I asked the question. It's just so many funny how many answers I get, because according to them, you can get you can get some white folks who can be African American. And that's what I'm just using people's logic. You got some white folks to be African American. If they want to use some of the excuses of their lineage and their blood, you lived with a white person. Hey, wait a minute, it is what it is. But I don't know. What's your thoughts?